Okay, so far, we've talked about pretty much everything up to the discussion of theory, but I do want to reiterate just a few things to make sure that you realize what you have to make sure that you're putting into the discussion of theory. So I'm going to just kind of write on top of this here, but you need to tell me what density is. Like explain the concept. It's not a theory, right? They just call it discussion of theory. But this section is, like I said yesterday, the most important section that we have. So this is really where you got to put as much of the information about your lab report and background information as you can. You also want to give me some history, as in tell me why the old pennies have a different density than the new pennies. Like, why is there even a difference? Why did we even investigate this to begin with? You want to talk a little bit about how you approach the lab. I'm not saying repeat the procedure. I'm not saying that. But you also need to put what do the calculations show? So if you're going to explain what the calculations show, you have to put your calculations in there. So whatever you found yesterday in the calculations as far as density goes, whatever you found for your new pennies, whatever you found for your old pennies, right or wrong, needs to go into your discussion of theory. Okay? We good so far? All right. And other questions, like I put prompts in here to try and help you out. Why does this or doesn't it work? Well, you will be able to talk a little bit about what things might have gone wrong, okay? But keep that part for the experimental sources of error, like what would have gone wrong. But you can explain how you got the density and why it worked to do the density, right? Why the procedure that you used to do the density worked, okay? But as I put on here, and I can't probably emphasize this enough, if you have any problems, please ask. I'm happy to do this. When is this due? Next week, a week from today. You have a whole week. And I want to also show you a few things on Schoology to show you, I'll just tell you what's there. You have a good lab report to look at. You have a crappy lab report, so you have some examples of both. But then there's also one other document there, and it is things that are commonly missed in a lab report. So I would suggest you and your lab partner open that up at some point before you turn it in and just look at some of those. It's going to be like, check it for third-person perspective. Make sure your significant digits are correct. Things like that. Label your axes on your graph. It's just reminders of things that are commonly missed. So I highly encourage you to take a look at that as well. All right. Now, moving on, though, to the other section, experimental sources of error is really where we talk about what we got right and what we got wrong. But the first thing we need to do is figure out what the accepted value was. So even though you got the density in the experimental in the lab, right? But if we look up what new pennies and old pennies were made out of, we should be able to, based on the density of zinc and copper, what should have been the actual or the accepted value. Does that make sense? Okay, so I happened to look up some information here, and it's a little scribbly here, but you can see the new pennies are 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper. So almost all zinc. In fact, let me just show you. I have a penny that I removed all the zinc on the inside of it, and I'm going to have you guys pass it around. I think you're going to find it pretty interesting. All right, so if we want to figure out the accepted value, we're going to take these percentages, 97.5 and 2.5, and we're going to use the density of copper and zinc in a weighted average. Do you guys know what a weighted average is? You do it with your grades all the time. Like your grades are 50% tests, right? Okay, so that means I'm going to take your test grades and put half of that score into your total score. You still with me? Okay, a weighted average, if I do 25% labs, 50% tests, that kind of thing, then you would take those values and multiply them by the percentages, which is what we're going to do here. So I'm going to kind of expand on this a little bit, okay? And I'll use a different color so you can see what I'm doing. You will want to put this information that I'm putting in red in your lab report. I don't care if you put it under error or if you put it under calculations. Both are acceptable, but you do need to label it. So we want to say something like, here, I'll move this stuff up a second. Okay, so maybe you want to label it something like this. Accepted value of, let's do the old pennies first. So I'm just going to have a label there showing what I'm calculating. Okay, so we said that the old pennies were 95% copper, okay, and 5% zinc. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 95% and I'm going to put it in a decimal form, 0.95. Then I'm going to multiply that by the density of copper, which is 8.96 grams per milliliter, plus 5%. Notice I'm putting that 5% in decimal points, okay? 0.05 times the density of zinc, which is 7.13 grams per milliliter. So when I put that in my calculator, I get an accepted value of 8.8. We're going to do 3 sig figs here, so 8.87 grams per milliliter. Again, just make sure you have that label on top of that calculation. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to shrink this down a little bit so I have some room. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing. I'll do it in a different color just so you can see the difference. And this is going to be the accepted value, right, of the new pennies. And that's your label. You guys still okay so far? All right, so the accepted value of the new ones, these are 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper. All right, so we're going to set it up the exact same way. 0.975 times the density of zinc bless you, and 0.025, remember it's 2.5, so we got to move that decimal point over 2 places and multiply that by the density of copper. And again, I'm going to put that in my calculator. And my calculator says the accepted value for this then is 7.18 grams per milliliter. Now with that information, we can start to look at our results and see if we got it right. Okay, see how close your results are. Now, I want to clarify though, in this lab, in my classroom, if you don't get the right results, that does not mean you get enough. Okay? In fact, it's far, far from it. I believe that experimentation is very important. So, if you get the wrong density, that doesn't mean your lab is a failure, okay? But it does mean that you have to discuss this in your error section to compensate for that, and that's okay, all right? So, I want you to look at your calculated density, and let's talk about whether you got higher or lower than what these two accepted values are. Because, let's see here. Because 8.87 was what we should have gotten for the old pennies, and 7.18 is what we should have gotten for the new. Okay. So, did anybody get lower than they should have? Jeremy did? Okay. Which is anybody else? Yeah, I got a couple others. Nice. So, let's think about... I have some that are higher and some that are lower. Yeah, that's okay. Some are going to be higher and lower, and we're going to talk about what kind of errors might cause something like that. So let's see here. I'll do green, because I haven't done green yet. So if we look at density, let me move some of this stuff back up again. Okay, so if I have density equals mass over volume, okay, and your density, if you think about it, your density was lower than it should have been. Mass-wise, the scales are pretty accurate, okay? So that's probably not where the error is. The error is probably in the volume. So what must have happened to the volume reading that would have caused the density to be lower? Did you read it too high or too low? Which one? Too high? Does that make mathematical sense to you guys? If I put something higher on the denominator, it's going to end up making density lower. All right, so let's look. I took a picture of some of your labs, okay? And I have a graduated cylinder, okay? And I want you to look at maybe some specific things in this picture, maybe towards the top. What do you see at the top of that graduated cylinder? Maybe some steam, right? Anything else? Water droplets. Blake's right. So if you had put the pennies in and just kind of plopped them down in there, some of the volume actually splashed up onto the top, causing you to then read the volume lower than it should have. What I'm getting at is you can't just say, my lab partner screwed it up, or human error. Human error does not fly in a scientific lab. You have to explain what error. So in this case, you might say, when the pennies were dropped into the graduated cylinder, remember, you got to leave yourself out of the conversation. When the pennies were dropped into the graduated cylinder, some of the water splashed up on the top and it allowed us to read the volume lower, which then follow it through the calculations. You know, if that was lower, then that means let me try and get this smaller again. Okay, that means that our calculations for our density was too high. But let's talk about the other option, okay? Let's talk about what else might have gone wrong. So let's go back to our equation, okay? So density equals mass over volume. And in case you got density that was too low, what must have happened to the volume? What did we do with the volume? Read it too high, okay? Let's look again at the picture of what might have gone wrong or what might have happened here. You guys see that? What do you guys see? Bubbles. Bubbles. Those bubbles right here, 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 those all take up volume. So you're not only measuring the volume of the pennies now, you're also measuring the volume of the bubbles. So what you want to maybe talk about in your experimental error or sources of error, don't address both, okay? Let's say your calculation showed a smaller value for both. Don't discuss the one that makes it higher, right? You're only discussing the error that happened to you, right? And I think it's safe to assume you probably had splashes or you had bubbles, okay? One of the two. You guys still with me? Okay, awesome. So you want to talk about that in your error, and then what could you have done to make it better? What could you have done to maybe get rid of the bubbles? Shake it. Yeah, tap it, shake it. That would have worked the bubbles out. That would have made the volume, improved the volume. What about the splashes? How could you have prevented the splashes?
Forceps.
Yeah, forceps to drop them in, maybe slide them down the side or something like that instead of plopping them in there, right? These are the things you discuss in sources of error. What went wrong, okay? And how could you have fixed it, okay? Or if you were to do this again, what would you do, kind of thing, okay? Hopefully that helps with that section. Okay, let me kind of shrink this down. Okay, oops, moving stuff all over the place. Here we go. All right, back up to here. The last section is just post-lab questions. And so those are pretty straightforward, I believe. The only thing that I'm looking for on there that is probably different than what you might expect is you have to answer in full, complete sentences, what we call standalone sentences. So in other words, your answers should make sense if I don't know what the question is. How can I do this? Let's say I ask Jeremy, what's the difference between a cat and a dog? And Jeremy responds in, the difference between a cat and a dog is blah, 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 right? So that's a standalone sentence that didn't even need the question for a prompt. So when you answer post-lab questions, that's the kind of answer that you need to do. Make sure it's complete in that way. And that's all I've got for this part.